The cases of overdoses are accelerating.
Calls to suicide hotlines are up.
More kids are going hungry during the pandemic.
1 in 5 American renters could be evicted from their homes.
But up to 121 million people around the world could be pushed to the brink of starvation.
When the coronavirus hit the U.S. this spring, more than 40 million people were suddenly out of work.
For the unemployed, the up to $600 a week CARES Act unemployment checks, they run out at the end of July. Millions of Americans are now in limbo as they struggle to maintain a roof over their head.
People are actually getting kicked out in the street.
She is one of about 28 million Americans at risk of eviction.
Job losses and economic hardship created by the COVID-19 pandemic could result in a 40 to 45% spike in homelessness nationwide.
Congress approved the pandemic EBT program last March. It's supposed to funnel money to millions of children who are no longer getting school, breakfast, and lunch. But people are having trouble getting that assistance, so they are turning to food banks.
Oxfam found that food crises in Venezuela and South Sudan have grown worse during the pandemic and warned that India, South Africa, and Brazil were seeing millions fall into poverty and hunger.
And unfortunately right now, because of isolation, because of job loss, it appears that these worst-case scenarios are happening.
Since the beginning of the pandemic here in Idaho, the number of domestic violence issues has gone way up.
Basically, the opioid epidemic is back since we went to these stay-at-home mandates.
We are seeing an increase in drug overdose and in suicides, not just here in Arizona, but nationally.
When is this going to get better? People are asking a lot of questions that we don't really have answers to at this point.
I just keep thinking about, the president saying we can't have the cure be more deadly or dangerous than the disease. And I also noticed as we watched it, as we put that news piece together, you don't see the big national, news agencies. You're not seeing Sanjay Gupta, CNN, Fox National or CBS. It's all the smaller, reporting, right? It's right where it's happening in these small, Fox News in a specific town or city discussing the issues that are affecting them. I don't think this is getting enough reporting, but I'm glad that that you're bringing this to attention. What are the headlines like across the country as we look at these non-specific or unwanted results of our approach to COVID-19?
Yeah, so they appear, great point on the local news, by the way, they appear to be peeking through now to the more mainstream or corporate media as a national level, which is super important. We have CBS News, 1 in 10 Americans don't have enough food. This is the headline, and that's double pre-pandemic rates. This was from a census report from the first week of July that people answered they sometimes or often don't have enough food. And this is two and a half times actually higher than before the crisis. And we just go right down these headlines and let them tell the story. More than 6 million people signed up to receive food stamps in the first 3 months of the U.S. coronavirus outbreak. This is according to analysis by the New York Times. Jobless Californians are running out of money. What they're doing is they're calling the unemployment department. The unemployment department is giving them an automated message saying we don't have enough people to answer the phone. Please try again later. That this is all over the news as these unemployment benefits are running out. And then to your point, local news, Washington, D.C., D.C. Catholic Food Pantry, months of long lines with no end in sight. Reading the article, it's heartbreaking. Lines forming well before dawn with people, children, parents, kids in strollers. And then we go to the restaurant side. This is Yelp. Wow. Yelp says more than half of restaurants that were listed as temporarily closed are now permanently shuttered. 60% of them, for that matter, on their site are now permanently closed. And then finally, a piece by Wall Street Journal. This is by their editorial board. They're calling for the governor rules in restaurants. The government red tape and the rules and the regulations, they're saying basically are serving little public health purpose, but are making economic survival very difficult for these restaurants. In the article, it says the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which represents some 500,000 small businesses, found that up to 85% of independent restaurants are at risk of closing by the end of the year. And this is America, people.
Unbelievable. And it really, as you started sending me these headlines, I just thought, this just doesn't seem to be a part of our reality. It's like we're arguing about masks. When you forget your mask, you may not be able to put food on your table. And we're printing money like crazy. How is this all going to work out? How about all these people in lines? What difference is the mask making for them? They cannot feed their families. I mean, this is really, really huge. And I started asking myself, too, when you think about, 1 in 10 now are not able to feed their families. I even think I'm starting to question those of us that can feed our families. I noticed Costco didn't have rice the other day, and I'm asking myself, how many people are packing refried beans into cans right now? How many people are packing tuna into cans? How many people are bagging rice? How many people are standing shoulder to shoulder, processing beef and meats? All of these questions, nobody seems to be asking this, and it really makes you wonder, are we moving in to a Soviet Union-style life here in the United States of America with bread lines and people lined up and everybody paying with rubles because the dollar's not worth anything, or maybe food stamps handed by the government? Or are we going to get to a place, where I only get one version of a product, there's no choices anymore? All of these huge questions that I think these headlines are bringing up. Jeffrey Jackson, though I wouldn't say you're a beacon of light and hope this week, I want to thank you for shining the light on the truth and bringing it to us. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, Dal. Thanks for having me on.
If you like that clip, then be sure to check out our live broadcast of The High Wire every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. You can watch it on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, and Twitter. We'll see you there.